Manx Radio Sport.
A very good evening to our listeners on Manx Radio AM 1368 and welcome back to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio. I'm Rob Pritchard here with the usual team to look through the football, rugby and hockey results taking place across the Isle of Man today. Well, to start with, we will now bring you the classified sporting results from football, rugby and hockey across the Isle of Man, and they are as follows. Starting with football. The ECAP FA Cup semi-finals. Corinthians 3, St John's United 1. In the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Ramsey 1, Union Mills 2. Morown 3, Russian United 2. Douglas High School Old Boys 1, Peel 3. Laxey 2, St George's 1. In DPS Limited Division 2. Governors Athletic versus Gyms awaiting result. Braddon 1, Douglas Athletic 0. Foxdale versus Michael United postponed due to an unfit pitch. And Colby 0, St Mary's 7. In Canada Life Combination 1. Union Mills versus Ramsey awaiting result. Douglas Royal 7, Corinthians 4. St John's United 4, Onken 2. Russian United 12, Morown 1. And Peel 0, Douglas High School Old Boys 4. In DPS Limited Combination 2. Douglas and District 6, Maloo 5. Michael United 3, Foxdale 2. Pulrose 3, Castletown 0. St Mary's versus Colby, a home win for St Mary's, Colby unable to field a team. And then we move to rugby. The Women's NC1 Northwest. Vagabonds 33, Lee 25. And in today's friendly on the Isle of Man, Ellen Vannin Colts versus Wrexham ongoing, a late kick-off at 4 p.m. And now we turn to the results today in hockey. Starting with the Ladies Premier League. Backers A 1, Castletown A 4. Valkyries A 3, Vikings A 1. In the Men's Premier League. Valkyries A 1, Backers A 6. Ramsey A versus Vikings A postponed. Castletown A versus Backers B postponed. In Ladies Division 1. Backers C 0, Vikings B 3. Harlequins A 6, Backers B 3. Valkyries B versus Ramsey A awaiting result. In Men's Division 1. Valkyries B versus Harlequins A postponed. Vikings C versus Vikings B postponed. In Ladies Division 2. Vikings C 1, Valkyries C 3. Castletown C versus Ramsey B, a home win for Castletown C, Ramsey B unable to field a team. Harlequins B versus Castletown D awaiting result. In Men's Division 2. Castletown B 4, Ramsey B 1. Backers Colts 0, Castletown C 2. And in the Mixed Under-15s League. Vikings 2, Backers 5. Valkyries 7, Castletown Sharks 1. And finally Harlequins 3, Castletown Sabres 0. Those are your classified results for the football, rugby and hockey fixtures taking place across the Isle of Man this weekend. And actually, just in the last couple of seconds, we have a couple to add. And I know Tony Mepham, who we'll be speaking to in a moment, will be eager to note this down. We have a couple of messages in. Thank you very much. It has finished in the combination. Union Mills 0, Ramsey 4. And also it has finished Governors Athletic 1, Gyms 1. So thank you very much for sending those through. We will be awaiting some other results, so if there are any outstanding football fixtures other than those we've just read out, please do text into the studio 166 177. Okay, so now we move on to, let's take a look at some of those football fixtures taking place across the island this weekend with the ECAP FA Cup semi-finals today, along with the league fixtures. So it's time to bring in Tony Mepham for the first time this evening. Tony, very good evening to you.
Good evening, Rob, and one or two other scores just starting to filter through now, so we'll add them to the sheets and give them a mention.
And of course, we will be taking a look at the result today for FC Isle of Man away at Lower Breck in the North West Counties Football League Premier Division. We will come to that in a little bit of time, but first let's have a look at the local results. The ECAP FA Cup semi-finals. It was over at Ballafletcher today. Corinthians and St John's set to battle it out to see who will face Premier League leaders Peel in the ECAP FA Cup final to come. And with a very close fought contest, it is Corinthians who have come out on top by 3-1, Tony.
Yeah, a bit of a shock for Corinthians. I think in the first couple of minutes they were 1-0 down. Dean Leese, that big ball over the top, and Dean Leese controlled it well, got past the defence and fired it past the keeper to give them the lead. And it just sort of steadied them, I think, right from the start, because they knew it was going to be a close game between the two sides. And Corinthians, I thought Ryan Gartland was superb in that first half. But in the second half, it was all changed. Ryan got injured and changed things around a little bit. And it was Ashton Canson who got the first. And it was a header because down the right-hand side, Tom Callister was there. Crossed it over, good cross. Jay Chatwood didn't reach it, and there was Ashton to head it past the keeper to make it 1-1. Then the second goal was absolutely brilliant. Good crossover, and Danny Jarrod was there, and he fired it past to make it 2-1. And, St John's hit the post. I think it was Dean Leese, a bit of a shot, and took a deflection, I think, and hit the post. But Corinthians kept chipping away, playing better football in that second 45 minutes. And then the third goal, crossover by Connor Clark. Joe Middleton was there, picked it up, and he scored. So it made it 3-1. Terrific finish in the end, and well done to Connor Clark. Debut game for him to come into a semi-final where you're under the cosh a little bit, and to sort of set that third goal up to make it safe. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Corinthians for their second half performance, and St John's will be disappointed that they didn't sort of find the form that they have in recent games.
And that means then the ECAP FA Cup final will be Corinthians and Peel. That has the makings of a fantastic fixture, doesn't it? Well,
it does. I think the problem is what players are going to be available for both teams, really, because I know Corinthians have got a few injured, so have Peel as well. So it's physio work all week, I think. Try and wrap everyone else up in cotton wool and get them all fit for Easter Saturday now. This game will kick off at 1:45 at the Bowl, and as you rightly say, the two teams that are battling out, I think, at the top of the Cannon Life Premier League table. Corinthians still got an awful lot of work to do. They've only played 16 to Peel's 20, but a good game in store.
Well, before we move on to the league fixtures, just to mention in terms of cup competitions, we will have 2 live draws coming up for you after we've been through the games that have taken place today. We'll come to that in a little bit. Let's move on to the Canada Life Men's Premier League then over at the Ballaclone Stadium. Ramsey taking on Union Mills, and the northern side, it was all looking good for them, but then a fantastic comeback by the Millers. It finished Ramsey 1, Union Mills 2.
Yeah, terrific. And if you could text us through, please, 166 177, Ramsey scorer. But when you look at the team 5th, Ramsey, against the team 3rd, Union Mills, it was always going to be a big battle for them. And as you rightly say, it was Union Mills who got it right in the second half. And Luke Booth with one, and Jordan Crawley got the other one. So terrific result. And Union Mills now have played 21 games. There's still only 3 games to play for 37 points. So good season for them.
Then moving on to the game at the Memorial Playing Fields, Marown still seeking points to keep themselves away from the battle taking place at the bottom of the table, up against an in-form Russian United side, and Marown really turning on the style today. A big result from them up against this good Russian United side, beating Russian Marown by 3-2.
Yeah, right, humdinger of a game, this one, and I think it was a real close battle right the way through by both teams, but credit to Marown. When they need something, they've got it today, because that puts them on 18 points. They've only played 17 games, so 7 to play, a lot to go, but it puts a 6-point gap now, Rob, between Marown and Onken. And the stars today for Marown, Matthew McQuarrie got one, Connor Gilbert and Rhys Westwell got the other. For Russian, it was Steve Riding and Jack Thompson who got the all-important goals for them, but wasn't enough, and Marown pick up the 3 points.
Now, when you look at Marown there, you say there's a 6-point cushion between them and Onken now. To some, that might not seem like too much, but when you're scrapping for points at that end of the table, every point is absolutely golden, isn't it?
Well, it's huge, and Marown just have a habit of doing this. At the start of the season, they seem to struggle to pick the points up. Then they have a couple of big wins, and not against the teams alongside them. It's teams way above them, and that's what they've done this time. So it's there, and I've watched them twice this year, and they're a good side. but it's just getting that consistency going. The boys put plenty of effort in, but it's just match day. Don't know what it is, but now, when you look at Onken, they've got a night game coming up. I think it's against Laxey. They've got to play Laxey twice, so that's a bit of a tough order for them. They've got plenty of games to play, Rob, 8 games, but you want points in the bag, and that's what Marown have done. And you look at the goal difference as well, it's a little bit better for Marown, so it's always pointing to them a little bit to have that advantage.
Okay, they're moving over to the game at Blackberry Lane, and it's the two teams at very differing ends of the table. The bottom of the table, Douglas High School Old Boys hosting the Premier League leaders Peel. A mad opening few minutes saw the Westerners taking control of the game, but Douglas High School Old Boys, they managed to steady themselves and start to fight back. It wasn't enough to take anything away and stun the league leaders, but Douglas High School Old Boys 3-1 defeat at home to Peel. That's not a bad showing from the bottom of the table side.
It is good, and I said at lunchtime to Paul, Old Boys have got the players there. It's just that it's a bit tougher for them. They're a little bit older, but there's still a lot of quality in there. I know Thomas Brown got one for Peel. I don't know who got the others. If you could text us too, please. I think it was Danny Gallen who got the goal for Douglas High School Old Boys. But it doesn't matter. 3-1, big 3 points for Peel. A lot of players missing today, Rob. A lot of combination players brought in. We'll come to the combination one result later to fill the gaps. Injured, suspended players, and they'll be hoping that all them players are clear to play next Saturday.
Now, Old Boys have a real job on their hands at the bottom of the table at the moment to pick up some big points, but just after that really, I suppose, poor opening few minutes for them, they did get themselves back into the game, got themselves a goal against Peel as well. If they can find some of the form that they did in later on in the game today against some of the other opposition, do you think there's more points in it for them? Can they claw themselves back? Well,
it can be, but you look at that league table for Douglas High School Old Boys. They've played 18 now, so 6 to play with 9 points. It's a big ask for them. They've got some tough games still in there, but they'll keep fighting to the end. They always have done, and it's sort of been creeping this way for the last few years because, Old Boys, the players that they've got there, they're all the same age band. They're all round the 35, 36 age mark now, and, nature does take you. The legs start to go and you're not as fit as you were, but they'll battle, trust me, right the way through the end. But just when you look at above that, St George's, you always feel that they've got a squad there that can pick up points. Marana showed today, so I think it's more pressure on Onken and Douglas High School Old Boys to get some bonus points from some big clubs.
And the final game, the Canada Life Men's Premier League today, was down at Glen Road. Laxey taking on St George's, and a very closely fought game, but the home side coming out on top. And Tony, I know you mentioned that St George's had a few key players back, but it just wasn't quite enough for them today to overcome Laxey. Laxey winning by 2-1.
No, it wasn't, and I don't know who scored for St George's, but Laxey, it just proves how important Sammy Gelling is for them, because the game against Peel recently, he scored one okay, he scored an own goal, but that wasn't his fault, just came off his head. But Sammy had a real opportunity, Rob, just towards the end of the game to complete his hat-trick penalty, put it down and missed it. So unfortunately for him, his hat-trick goes, but it doesn't matter. Hasn't cost the club. Johnny Palmer will be delighted with that one, and he'll look at the Easter break and then move on to that night game against Duncan.
Very well, let's take a quick look through the other divisions, because we do have 2 live draws to come, obviously. A lot of things to pack into this hour on Saturday Sport Classified. So let's go to DPS Limited Division 2. Governors Athletic and Gyms, 1 apiece there.
Yeah, and it was a good battle. I haven't got any goal scorers, but, that's Governors Athletic, Rob's first point. So, well done to them. It's been a tough old season for them. And credit to them, because, at the start of the season, the players are there humming and hawing what to do, but the boys have carried on battling, and today they've got the reward with that first point.
Then moving on to Braddon versus Douglas Athletic. This a close game as well. Braddon just edging it by 1-0.
Yeah, and thanks to Braddon, it's always nice to have a compliment for the opposition. And it just said that Douglas Athletics defence played really well today, because Braddon are an attack-minded team. They're third in the league, so when you look at Athletic next to the bottom, they put a good shift in today, so congratulations on that one. But for Braddon, Star scored last week, scored again today, Daniel Kinraid.
Well, there's only, going into this weekend, there are only 3 points separating the top 2 in Division 2. St Mary's at the top and Michael United in second. Michael United, their game today, postponed away at Foxdale due to an unfit pitch. Meanwhile, St Mary's were away against Colby, and St Mary's put the ball back in Michael United's court to chase them a little bit again, because St Mary's a commanding win at Colby today by 7-0. Yeah,
terrific battle, isn't it? And it's good. I'm not saying warm-up, that's the wrong word, but good confidence booster for that GH Call at Woods Cup on Good Friday. And today it was 3-0 at half-time to St Mary's, 7-0 at the end. Nathan Holsall's in good goal-scoring form at the moment. He got 2. Joe Canepa got a couple of goals. Owen Canepa with 1. Josh Evans got 1. And Joe Berquist. So they'll be looking forward to their day out in the GH Collet Woods Cup final, Good Friday, which I think is 2 o'clock kickoff.
Very well, let's move into the combination divisions, and we'll start with Union Mills 0, Ramsey 4.
I think that's all the information we've got at the moment. It is, so if you text us through the scorers for Ramsey, please, 166 177.
And then we had goal fest, really, between Douglas Royal and Corinthians. Douglas Royal 7, Corinthians 4.
Yeah, I was trying to keep an eye on this one up at Ballafletcher alongside the semi-final. But for Douglas Royal, good result for them. James Clark with 2. Simon Dooley was George Newton, I think it was. Jack Pearce got 1. And Gavin Gowan and an own goal. And for Corinthians, Conor Bell with 2. Conor Prescott and Tom Ross was the other goal scorer. So Douglas Royal, good result.
And we have had a message in about the Union Mills 0, Ramsey 4. So Alfie Scott got 2, and there was Aussie, that's all he's been known as on this message, with 1, and then 2 own goals as well. Okay, moving on to St John's United versus Onken in Combi 1. St John's winning by 4-2.
Yeah, and St John's are really chasing this second spot in combination 1, and we'll come to the other scores in a minute. But today it was John Haggerton rolling back the years. John, well done, hat-trick for him. Dewan Corkish got 1 for Onken. Dylan Vick with the first one for Onken, and James McEwen got the other one. So disappointing result that for Onken.
And then Russian United versus Moran, and Russian, what a season they've been having. There is just absolutely no let-up from the Southerners at the moment. Russian United, it was the same today again, an absolutely storming performance against Moran at home. Russian United 12, Moran 1.
Yeah, and that's Russian played 18, won 18, and still got, 4 games to go. So it'd be nice to go all season unbeaten, and obviously we're doing the Junior Cup draw later on. They'll be looking for the double, but today Aaron Hawley was the star. He got 5. Luke Roberts got 2. Jordan Watterson with a goal. Jamie Cadwallader. It was Kieran Brown got 1. Ryan Crawley and Joe Kelly got the other one. Haven't got Moran's goal scorer.
And rounding off combination 1, Peel versus Douglas High School Old Boys. A good result for Old Boys today, beating Peel by 4-0.
That's absolutely tremendous. And we touched on before, with Peel losing so many players, combination players that had to go into the first team, and it cost them dearly. But the young players came in for Peel, did really well today. But, Old Boys are 11th, Peel are 2nd. So, it does help St John's a little bit. They've still got games in hand to see if they can get that second spot. But today for Old Boys, it was Lee Gartland with 1. Dewan Gartland got a goal and 2 own goals. 4-0 at the end.
And then rounding off, let's look at DPS Limited Combination 2. And we start off with what was another goal fest of a game here between Douglas and District and Maloo. And Douglas and District just snatching it. In what a thrilling game this was. Douglas and District 6, Maloo 5.
Now, if this is right, Rob, I've got the half-time score 1-0 to Maloo. So absolutely bizarre.
Eventful second half, I think it's fair to say.
10 goals in the second half. And another one is when you look at the league table, Maloo are top and Douglas and District are 7th. And Douglas and District are on 16 points and Maloo are on 42. So that's an incredible result, that, for Douglas and District. And today it was Luke Callister with 3, Jacob Harvey with a goal, and Joe Lewis got 1 as well. So terrific game for that. I haven't got Maloo's other goal scorers, but that's the league leaders. Just dropped 3 points there. Still think it's theirs to lose, but a bit more pressure on them with St Mary's winning today.
And then up to the north of the island, very close game. Not quite as many goals in this one, but still an entertaining fixture nonetheless. Michael United versus Foxdale. Michael United 3, Foxdale 2.
Yeah, Foxdale are 10th. Michael United are a little bit above, well, they're 9th actually, but they've played a few games more. But today it was Nathan Farragher, Chris Padden and Carl Moore were the goal scorers for Michael. For Foxdale, an own goal, so in theory Michael scored 4. And Mikey Sloan got 1 as well, so 3-2 it was to Michael.
And then rounding off combination 2, Pulrose and Castletown facing off. And Pulrose, 3 points for them and 3 goals. Pulrose 3, Castletown 0.
Yeah, and it was the first goal, 16 minutes, just helped them a little bit. Jay Thomas got the first goal. Billy McBurney got 1 on 72. And then 5 minutes later, JP Joyce got the third of the game to clinch the 3 points for Pulrose.
And the other game in combination 2, St Mary's versus Colby. That was a walkover to St Mary's with Colby unable to field a team. So those are the local results from Manx football today. and we'll be hoping to catch up in a couple of moments. We do have some live draws to come, as we mentioned. Tony will take us through the details of those in a few minutes, but hopefully it's now time to turn to FC Isle of Man. A big double-header for them this weekend. If they take maximum points from 2 games in 2 days, they could secure themselves safety in the NWCFL Premier Division. And a big result today away on Merseyside. Lower Breck 0, FC Isle of Man 2. Charlie Higgins with a first half goal for the Ravens, and then 9 minutes into the second half, making sure of the points, Sean Doyle adding FC Isle of Man second. Well, just at this moment we are just waiting to connect with FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones, and I do believe, perfect timing, we have him on the line now. We can cross live to Merseyside to FC Isle of Man's interim manager Paul Jones. Paul, very good evening to you.
Hi, Rob.
So, Paul, a fantastic result today. 2 goals against a really good Lower Breck side and a clean sheet as well. What was the key today? Because you had to withstand quite a lot of pressure in that game as well.
Second half we more so, but we just wanted to be brave and try and dominate in and out of possession. So the lads played on the front foot from minute 1 and won pretty much every first and second ball, and we had lots of territory in their half of the pitch, and we carried that on from minute 1 through to minute 90, and they played a little bit longer second half. They had the wind and played some long balls, and had some half chances really, but so did we at the other end. And so as I say, from minute 1 to minute 90, we were the best team on the pitch, and every player who was on the pitch for us gave a really good performance. And it was just a joy to watch really, from my perspective.
It sounded like, against a couple of the teams in the division, you've maybe just had to soak up a bit of pressure, maybe towards some of the teams at the top, but it seemed like you started to try and take the game to Lower Breck. You were the ones forcing them up the field. Was that something you've been talking about for a long time as a team, trying to go to, or was it for this game in particular it seemed appropriate?
No, I think, those who have watched us play the last few weeks, in the first half of every game, we've kind of done that and got some joy out of it. And I think the difference today was that we carried on doing that in the second half, and we didn't drop off, and we didn't allow our standards to drop too much. And it's only half a yard sometimes, or maybe 1 mile an hour, not quick enough to chase something down, and it lets them in. So those fine details that maybe we've not quite seen through all the way to the end of the game over the last couple of fixtures, we definitely did today. And Lower Breck did try and make it very difficult for us. They did try and turn it into more of a physical, confrontational occasion and try and wind us up a little bit. But other than 10 minutes before half time, where we kind of were suckered into it, the second half we handled ourselves really, really well and managed the game fantastically. So really pleased with them. And hopefully everyone in the group can take some confidence from that into the game tomorrow.
2 well-taken finishes from Charlie Higgins and Sean Doyle, 1 in each half. But the fact of the clean sheet as well, and clean sheets are hard to come by at this level with the quality of the attackers across this division especially. So the fact that you were able to soak up a lot of pressure at times against this Lower Breck team that have had a really steady season themselves, what does that say to the discipline that your players are capable of?
Yeah, and we've had a number of clean sheets, over the last kind of 18, 19 games, and that's one of the things we've been working towards. And certainly today it kind of all clicked and came together. And we worked just as hard when we didn't have the ball as we did when we had it. And sometimes when we don't keep clean sheets, we're maybe not working as hard as we need to cover the gaps on the pitch when we don't have the ball. And we certainly did that today. And, as I say, every player who had the shirt on today represented the club fantastically well. And we had a very large group of travelling fans here, some from the Isle of Man, some from England, who were very grateful to them for being here and giving us some excellent support. So, it was just pleasing for them to see a dominant FC Isle of Man performance and really kind of like stamping our authority on a game and showing that we deserve to be in this league and at this level.
Well, 3 points today for yourselves, a 2-0 win. There was also a 2-0 win as well for Burscough against Ashton Athletics. So, as it stands, if you were to pick up 3 points against Longridge Town, that game taking place tomorrow, you would actually secure safety in the NWCFL Premier Division for another season. Longridge Town, taking a look at them, of course, they produced a stunning comeback against yourselves at the Bowl just a couple of weeks ago. How tough is it going to be to get a result over there tomorrow?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. It is going to be very hard. They're a very good side and with good players, but we think we're able to manage our group of players well, and we've got some fresh legs in reserves that haven't played today, and we think that they're going to make a really positive contribution tomorrow. So we're confident. We showed in that first half against Longridge a few weeks ago that we got more than enough to cause them problems, going kind of 3-1 up before they came back, and as I say, we didn't manage the details of the game as well as we needed to in the second half. So yeah, we're really confident. Certainly today gives everybody a lot of confidence, and we think we can go and have a performance. But some of the clubs in and around us lost, and I think we've jumped at least one, maybe two places in the league today off the back of that win, and other clubs have to look over their shoulders as well, and we're looking forwards rather than backwards, looking for improved performances, and if we can do that, we'll have a good chance of winning again tomorrow.
Well, 3 points for FC Isle of Man and another step closer potentially to safety for the Ravens in the NWCFL Premier Division. Well, Paul, thank you very much for joining us. We'll now let you and the team get an early night ahead of Longridge Town tomorrow. Thanks again.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks very much.
Paul Jones, interim manager of FC Isle of Man, there after his side's 2-0 win away at Lower Breck this afternoon. Well, just before we move on to the cup draws that we're going to be taking for the local football, we'll bring Tony Meppen back into this. So, Tony, against the Lower Breck side, they've had a very steady season in the division. FC Isle of Man going over there, 2 goals and a clean sheet. That's a good statement to be making at this point of the season.
Well, it is, because you want as many points as you can, and as Paul's just said, climb up the table as much as you can. Just breeds confidence right in the team. And it's quite interesting looking back, Rob, when you look at last season. It was quite a late finish, wasn't it? This year it's going to be an early finish, so it just gives them a little bit more recovery time, and players can get fit again, those that are injured. And good to see Matthew Quirk coming back in after a long-term injury, keeping a clean sheet, so he'll be buzzing, and I'm sure the team are as well, because Charlie Higgins, speaking to his granddad today, he said that goal will give him massive confidence, and it will. He's a young lad, and this year it's been a little bit harder for him, but today he got one. And also Sean Doyle, Sean's been back for 2 or 3 games now, and he got that hat-trick, but it just he wasn't match fit. You could see that in him, and another good run today and another goal. Massive confidence.
And the fact as well, the way I suppose they approached the game today, from the looks of it, when you've got a team that maybe FC Isle of Man's position in any league, you could maybe forgive sides for being a bit more conservative, not concede chances because they may not be going in the opposite direction, putting balls in the back of the net, but they seem to really attack Lower Breck from the outset. Do you think that not just says about the quality, but the confidence in this squad in this current time?
Well, I think also possibly that's helped Paul is, the way the squad has just stayed together. There hasn't been too many changes, has there? Only if someone's picked up an injury or something like that. So it's really helped them, and I think it's a massive lift for them, because when you look at it 6 weeks ago, they were talking about they could be relegated and there's pressure on them, and then they've had some great results. And even though Burscough and others, Ashton as well, have played some big teams and done really well, they were looking over their shoulder and just worried that it might happen, but they've proved the point. And after they had that 10-point sort of difference a couple of weeks ago, I thought to myself, they're going to be safe here. It's not going to bother them, and it's a question of regroup, rethink, and go again next year, because some of those teams will improve, some of them will be weaker. FC Isle of Man, we pretty well know what their sort of numbers are going to be like, but well done to them, and it looks as if they're going to be safe.
So FC Isle of Man, 3 points there, and if they do pick up 3 points tomorrow, that would secure them safety. All is not certain though, but a very good start to the doubleheader weekend for them. Okay, well, we've still got a very busy schedule ahead of us, so we'll move straight on to the draws for a couple of cup competitions here on the Isle of Man. So, Tony, which draws have we got today?
Right, we're going to do the Hospital Cup preliminary round first. This is due on the 22nd of April. They're played on a Saturday. Just a note on it, 2:30 kickoffs it is, because we have the light and everything then, so there's no problem. Ben Cunningham is going to do the draw for me, and we've got 24 teams in the hat. We need to, it's a horrible thing to say, lose 8, so we need 16 teams out. We need 8 fixtures. Ben, if you could do the draw for us, please.
Number 16.
Number 16 is Onken.
Number 21.
And number 21 is St George's.
22.
Number 22 is St John's.
Number 12.
And 12 is Jim's.
8.
A home tie for Douglas High School Old Boys.
Against 7.
will play Douglas and District.
11.
Number 11 is Governors Athletic.
Number 5.
And number 5 is Corinthians.
15.
Number 15 is Michael.
Against number 17.
Not too far to travel. Michael v. Peel.
18.
Number 18 is Ramsey.
Against 24.
And number 24 is Union Mills.
Number 2.
Number 2 is a home tie for Braddon.
Against number 4.
Number 4 is Colby. And the last two teams out of the hat for the prelim round ties.
19.
Number 19 is Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys.
Against 13.
And number 13 is Laxey. Now, hopefully, we should have 8 balls in there. So if you can bring them out just for clarity.
20.
Number 20, so that's a bye for Russian.
10.
That's a bye for Foxdale.
3.
Castletown also have a bye.
23.
Number 23 is St Mary's.
6.
Number 6 is Douglas Athletic.
14.
14 is Marown.
9.
Number 9 is Douglas Royal.
And number 1.
And the last one is Ayr United. So I'll go through that draw again, Rob, if I may. Now, the first one out of the hat was Onken against St George's. St John's will play Jims. Douglas High School Old Boys against Douglas and District. Governors Athletic will have a home tie against Corinthians. Michael will play Peel. Ramsey at home against Union Mills. Braddon will play also second division team Colby, so it's Braddon v Colby. And the last one out of the hat for the prelim round of the Hospital Cup to be played on the 22nd of April is Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys against Laxey.
And if you could just remind us as well, just in case anyone's just missed in the last few seconds, the teams that have buys into the next round.
Teams that have buys is number 1, Ayr United. 3, Castletown. 6, Douglas Athletic. 9, Douglas Royal. 10, Foxdale. Number 14 is Marown. Russian is number 20. And St Mary's are the last team to have a bye, number 23.
And those fixtures currently scheduled to take place on Saturday, the 22nd of April at 2:30pm. That is the preliminary round draw for the Hospital Cup. Well, we've got another live draw to get in shortly. So, Tony, very, very quickly, are there any ties that stand out there?
I think probably the one that you're looking at the moment is Ramsey against Union Mills. They played each other today, 5th against 3rd. But also you always look for a top Division 2 side against a Premiership side, and there's not too many in there, but a bit of an indicator. Old Boys against D&D. Old Boys battling to stay in the Premier League, D&D in the middle of Div 2, so some close games there. But Corinthians, 3rd at the moment in the Premier League against Governors, who are bottom of Division 2. It's going to be a big day for them.
Plenty to think about them for Saturday, the 22nd of April with those. OK, let's move on to the next draw of the evening. Tony, can you give us the details?
Yeah, we've taken number 24 out of the hat. We've got 23 teams. And this is quite confusing now, Rob, because we used to have 26 teams and first team's Ancombe. So we want 7 games out. So, Ben, if you could please make the draw.
20.
Number 20. First one out and probably favourites, Russian.
Against number 11.
And number 11 is Laxey.
8.
8 is Douglas Royal.
2.
Will play Braddon.
1.
Number 1 is Ayr United.
Against number 5.
Number 5 is Corinthians.
10.
Number 10 is Jims.
16.
And number 16 is Peel.
6.
Number 6 is Douglas and District.
18.
Number 18 is Ramsey.
13.
Number 13 is a home game from around.
Against 12.
Number 12 is Malou, top of combination 2.
19.
And number 19 is Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys.
Against 23.
And number 23 is Union Mills. If you can give us the buys, please, Ben.
Yep. 4.
Number 4 is Colby.
15.
15 is Onken.
9.
9 is Foxdale.
14.
14 is Michael.
7.
7 is Douglas High School Old Boys.
17.
17 is Pulrose.
21.
21 is St John's.
22.
22 is St Mary's.
And 3.
And number 3 is Castletown.
Okay, so very quickly, Tony, could you just take us through the draw once more for those who may have missed it?
Certainly can. In the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup prelim round game, these are to be played on Sunday, the 23rd of April. The first one out of the hat was Russian against Laxey. Douglas Royal will play Braddon. Ayr against Corinthians. Jims against Peel. Douglas and District will play Ramsey. Moran at home against Malou. And Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys against Union Mills.
And the teams that have buys as well.
Teams that have buys: 3, Castletown, Colby, Old Boys, Foxdale, Michael, Onken, Pulrose, St John's and St Mary's.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Tony. Well, before we're going to be chatting to Dave Christian very shortly on today's rugby action. But, Tony, just a final word from you then on the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup prelim round draw. Any fixtures that stand out?
I think, Russian against Laxey, 2 Premiership or 2 Division 1 sides with good combination teams. But Russian, you wouldn't want to play them at the moment, would you? But sort of the one that you're looking at also in there, Douglas Royal against Braddon. Braddon got a lot of good young players there. Ayr United against Corinthians. Ayr United maybe just win that. Peel against Jims. This is at Jims. Peel you'd expect to win that. D against Ramsey. Ramsey should be favourites. Moran against Malou. Malou are flying in Combi too. So they might just beat Moran. And Ramsey Youth Centre against Union Mills. Open game, but I'll just go for Millers.
Well, Tony, we have plenty to get through there. Well, thank you very much once again.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, now it's time to turn to the rugby action taking place on the Isle of Man today. 2 games, including Vagabonds ladies, who are looking for a strong finish to their women's NC1 Northwest campaign this season. They were taking part in their last home game of the season. 1 game left overall for them to play off the island. Today, they hosted league strugglers Lee. And the man that was down there today providing the coverage on Saturday Live was Dave Christian, who we can hopefully speak to now. Dave, very good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Cracking strong performance it was from Vagabonds as well. They needed one and they put one out. It was a bit of a rollercoaster for the supporters though. The lead changed hands a few times and in the end 33-25, it was only an 8-point margin there, and Lee showed that despite losing 11 from 11 coming into this game, they're not really a side that should be down at the bottom of the table on this, on the strength of today's performance at least. It was Vagabonds captain Lauren Ellison who made the decisive plays. She intercepted twice in midfield when Vaggers were under a bit of pressure as well, and set up tries for her team at the other end. Sophie Henry got the ball rolling for Vagabonds after 12 minutes. She crossed for a try with Vaggers getting all the early pressure, but by half an hour they were 15-5 down. Lee had struck back with tries from Catherine Deacle, Abby Kay and Rachel Downs. And that sort of had a little bit of, you can almost see the eyebrows twitching on the Vagabonds touchline. The supporters starting to get a little bit frustrated, but Vaggers finally came good just before half-time. They restored their lead. Tries from Jules Harrison and Sammy McDonald, and McDonald converted them both, and that gave them a 19-15 lead at half-time. And those 2 Sammy McDonald conversions proven the big difference there in the first half. In the second half, Lee took the lead again. Helen Murto went over the big second row, unstoppable from short range. That put them 20 points to 19 in front. Lauren Ellison then struck with the first of her midfield interceptions. That earned Vagabonds a 5-metre penalty in front of the Lee posts, and it was Jess Swales who crashed it over. She hit the first contact pretty hard and managed to spin out of that tackle and over the line. McDonald converted, Vaggers 26-20 in front. Lee then hit back at the other end, and it was a real end-to-end stuff. Had a bit of a feel of a cup game about it. But it was Catherine Deacle went over for her second of the game after a lot of forward pressure from the Lee pack. With 10 minutes to play, the Vagabonds were just 1 point in front. And Ellison then stood up and she snaffled another pass in midfield. That sent Clara Townsend over for the decisive try, and Sammy McDonald converted that one as well. It's given Vagabonds maximum points from the game. They now sit in 4th place in the table, Women's NC North 1 West. They are on 30 points. Above them, Halifax on 33, and below them, Broughton Park on 28. Broughton Park got 2 games to play. Halifax got 1 game to play, and that's against Vagabonds in a couple of weeks' time. And I'll just check out the date for that now. I have a feeling it was the 15th. It is the 15th of April. Broughton Park play Southport tomorrow in one of those games in hand, but Southport are the home and dry league champions. They're going to want a clean sweep, so I don't see Broughton Park picking up points there, but they may well do against Chester Divas in 2 weeks' time. But Vagabonds got a chance of a 3rd place finish, and probably on balance they deserve it. They've had a fair season, played 11, won 5, lost 6. If they can just pick up that last away win at Halifax, that'll do the job for them. Also going on today, we've had the Ellen Vannin Colts game at the Murdoch Park. That was against Wrexham Youth. That was kicking off at 4 o'clock, and I'm afraid I still haven't got the result for that yet. I'm sitting twiddling my thumbs waiting, and hopefully I'll get that before the end of the programme. If not, we'll get a report put up on manxradio.com. But that game, 4 o'clock kick-off it was, so it only have just finished now. And I suspect, and it'll save me a job if they have, I suspect the coaches will be clearing up the flags and post protectors and stuff. Otherwise, I'll have to go and do that when I finish here.
Well, Dave, thank you very much again. We look forward to hearing updates from that game. Thanks very much again for your report on the rugby today. So great result for Vagabonds ladies there as they approach the end of their season. Okay, with around just under 16 minutes left until 6 o'clock, we can now turn to hockey. And the man who was very eloquently and expertly doing the football draws for us before can now put his hockey hat back on. Ben Cunningham on the final weekend of hockey fixtures in the men's and ladies divisions. Very good evening.
Good evening. What a final weekend we've had. Some interesting results to go through.
Okay, let's go straight into it then. We'll start with the Ladies Premier League. Take 2 games there. We start with the early pushback. That was 12:35, and it was Backers A up against the now champions Castletown A. And Castletown A, with that 1 game remaining, they wanted to end things on a high, and they did exactly that by beating Backers A by 4-1.
And I umpired this game, and Castletown went straight out and showed that they mean business. I mean, second half, Castletown only got the 1 goal in the second half, so it was a good battle by Backers. For Backers, it was Martha Broadwick with their goal, and then for Castletown, it was Helena Allen, Dulcie Tier, Amy Sellers, and Alex Callow. And I've been given a stat by their manager. Castletown have finished the season undefeated, and they've only conceded 4 goals this season. So what an achievement, and they've secured the title.
So an excellent defensive record as well as being incredibly potent in attack as well. Okay, looking at the other game, the Ladies Premier League, is between the two sides who historically over previous seasons have been the ones battling for the title. Castletown, of course, winning it this year. Valkyries A and Vikings A over at QE2. And the Westerners, the hosts, actually taking the 3 points here, beating Vikings A by 3-1.
Yeah, and I had Vikings down to win this game, but credit to Valkyries. I mean, last week Valkyries gave Castletown a run for the money and ended a stalemate. But yeah, credit to them. For Vikings A, it was Mia Greenwood, and then for Valkyries A, it was Andrea Littlejohn, Ellen Cleater, and Flo Barber.
Very well, we're now going to move on to the Men's Premier League. Now, before we go into any of the men's results, just a little footnote as well. There are a couple of games postponed, and that is because the Isle of Man Under-16 boys squad are competing in the England Hockey Under-16 boys Tier 2 plate final tomorrow in the UK against Hampton and Arden. We may have a chance to chat about that after we've gone through the results here today. So a couple of games postponed, and they are two in the Men's Premier League. They are Ramsey A versus Vikings A and Castletown A versus Backers B, both postponed. And then both games in Men's Division 1 postponed today, and they were Valkyries B versus Harlequins A and Vikings C versus Vikings B. Okay, let's take a look at the one game then that took place in the Men's Premier League between Valkyries A and the champions Backers A over at QE2. And we talked about Castletown A in the Ladies Premier League ending things on a high as well, fortifying their title status, and Backers A in the Men's Premier League doing exactly the same, a 6-1 win over Valkyries A.
Yeah, absolutely commanding victory there for Backers A, 6-1. Elliot Reid with 2, Johnny Callow with 1, Callum Robb with 2, Andy Whiting with 1, and then for Valkyries A, the consolation goal from Chris Thomas.
Well, Backers A, I think we've spoken about them a couple of times this season, but believe that's a perfect record they've had in the league this season.
Yeah.
What's the secret here? They are always up there. They're always pushing for the silverware. They've taken the Men's Premier League title however many years on the bounce. I haven't got the figure exactly in my head just at the moment, but what is the key to this utterly clinical and utterly ruthless way of just dominating this division?
They work as a team, and you can see that by the way they perform on the pitch. They all know exactly where their position is. They all know where they need to be defending, and they're one big solid unit, and that's been what's been the key point this season for them, such a strong unit. And they've just been able to, like today, put 6 goals past Valkyries.
Now, in the Men's Premier League, this is actually one league that isn't fully decided. All the titles are decided, the Men's Premier League included, but who may be going down from the division is still to be decided, because that is between Ramsey A and Backers B. Both their games postponed today, as we mentioned, because of the Isle of Man boys taking part in the competition across tomorrow. So what is going to happen with those two games? Because that will have to be sorted, won't it?
Yeah, so these games are due to be rescheduled either next week or in the next 2 coming weeks. At the moment, Ramsey A are bottom following their loss to Backers B last week. So if results go Vikings' way and Castletown's way, Backers B will stay up. If Ramsey A manage to beat Vikings A and Backers B lose to Castletown A, then Backers B will be relegated. So it's all to play for at the bottom of the league there.
It is indeed still one final chapter to be written, I guess, in the
absolutely.
Men's Premier League. Funnily enough, I do actually, in terms of men's hockey, have another Castletown statistic that has just been sent in off the back of you saying that Castletown A, the women's team, have only conceded 4 goals all season. We will come to that. That's a little further down the line. So we'll move on to Ladies Division 1 there. We had 3 games today, starting with 12:35 at King William's College. Backers C taking on Vikings B, and a good result, 2 points, I should say, and a clean sheet for Vikings B, winners by 3 goals to 0.
Yeah, and Backers C heading back to Division 2. Credit to them, they put a strong statement in this league, being promoted up last season. Vikings B, though, 3-0. Morven Smith, Becca Kelly and Caitlin Slack with goals each.
And then at 2:05, the game that you covered for us, Ben, on Manx Radio, Harlequins A versus Backers B at the NSC. This game to and froed quite a lot in the early stages, but then Harlequins A just took it up a couple of gears and managed to take the points. A thrilling game. Harlequins A 6, Backers B 3.
Yeah, and half-time, 3-3. I mean, the second half-time, everyone was there watching, going, this could be a really interesting second half, and it was. And then Harlequins just came alive in the second half. It looked like they fell asleep a bit at the end of the first half, but Backers B punished them, and then I think that made Harlequins wake up. For Harlequins, it was Hannah Nuttall with 2, Maisie Crellin with 1, Amelia Batty with 1, Ella Blakemore with 1, and Lucy Passy with 1. And then for Backers B, it was Sienna Millwall, Iona Bridges, and Neve Goddard.
And then we move on to the last game in Ladies Division 1. It was another close game, this one. 7 goals in this one. Valkyries B versus Ramsey A, the 3:35 pushback at QE2, and Ramsey A snatching it by 4 goals to 3.
Yeah, and I want to know what Vic Garner's had for breakfast this morning. All 4 goals for Ramsey. Very good stuff there. And then for Valkyries B, it was Steph Cottier with 2, and Andrea Elise with 1. Half-time, 2-1 to Valkyries, though.
Okay, and as we mentioned, both games in Men's Division 1, Valkyries B and Harlequins A and Vikings C versus Vikings B, both postponed. Moving on to Ladies Division 2 then, 12:35 pushback was between Vikings C and Valkyries C, battle of the B teams at Castle Rushen High School, and Valkyries coming out on top by 3-1.
Yeah, Molly Wheeler for Vikings C, and then for Valkyries C, Donna Harrison and Vinnie Washington with 2 goals, and ends a good season for Valkyries C there.
And then Castletown C versus Ramsey B. That was actually awarded as a home walkover to Castletown C because Ramsey B were unfortunately unable to field a team. But in the other game, 3:35, Harlequins B against Castletown D at the NSC. Close game this, and Harlequins B getting the victory here by 1-0.
And they finished the season with a win. A newly formed team didn't have any wins up to this final weekend. And then last game of the season, they've managed to pull it off over Castletown D. And Amelia Lee is the hero of the day with the goal for Harlequins.
And then we move on to Men's Division 2. And then 12:35 up at Ramsey Grammar School was Castletown B. They took on Ramsey B, and Castletown, another victory for the club this weekend. Castletown B winning by 4-1.
Yeah, Castletown B, league leaders and league champions of this division. Dan Roberts with 3 and Rich Tarr with a goal for Castletown B. And then Ian Woods for Ramsey B. And the next result has changed slightly. Who's finished runners-up in this league?
Well, before we go on to that, here is the Castletown statistic. You mentioned that Castletown A in the Women's Premier League only conceded 4 goals all season.
Yeah.
Well, Castletown B men's team in Men's Division 2 have taken the division title by only conceding 3 goals all season. Castletown showing some mighty resilience at the back as well as going on to take silverware as well.
Absolutely, and I mean it just shows that, you know, it shows just it's nice to see trophies going around all different clubs and that, and yeah, teams are proving themselves, and I mean if Castletown B can do that in Division 1 next year, then who knows.
And then the other game in Men's Division 2, 2:05 was Bacchus Colts taking on Castletown C, also at Ramsey Grammar School. And Castletown C, another win for Castletown in this division this Saturday, beating Bacchus Colts by 2-0.
So many Castletown teams to keep up with. David Smith and Stephen Jackson were goals for Castletown C. And this result now means that Castletown C have finished runners-up behind Castletown B, because Ramsey B were second coming into this weekend. But obviously they've lost to Castletown B. Castletown C coming into this weekend were level on points with Ramsey B. So, big congratulations to Castletown, champions and runners-up in this league.
And just very quickly before we move on to go through the mixed under-15s results, looking at the senior leagues this season, we have Castletown A winning the Ladies Premier League. You have the likes of Castletown B men's winning Men's Division 2. All the Castletown teams fighting on all those fronts. When you say about teams, potentially competing at the top, we've historically thought, in the Men's Premier League, you have backers who've been dominant. Yeah. In the Women's Premier League, the likes of Vikings and Valkyries have always battled it out as well. Castletown getting those teams into there. Is this the start of a shift in Manx hockey? Because if you're a Castletown player or coach right now, looking at some of the results this season, that must be incredibly promising and incredibly exciting time for the club.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's not just Castletown. I mean, you look at Harlequins as well, a small club as well, and they've got 2 teams being promoted into the Premier League next season. Obviously, as well as in the mixed season, they've also got a team getting promoted up to the Premier League there. But I think it is a start of possibly a slight change in fortune here, and yeah, like I say, it's good to see other clubs getting their names on silverware.
Be wary of how many things could happen next season, of course. So just very quickly and just quick fire, let us know what the results in the mixed under-15s league were.
Okay, they were all 11:05, and the first game was Vikings against Backers. That was a 5-2 win to Backers. Cal Joyce with 3 and Ollie Christian with 2 for Backers. Morgan Brywood and Henry Stewart for Vikings. Valkyries against Castletown Sharks. That was a 7-1 win to Valkyries. Liam Harrison with 4, Ryan Thomas with 2, and Cale Quinn with 1. And then Paul Callister with goal for Castletown Sharks. And then the final game, Harlequins against Castletown Sabres. I umpired this as well. Sean Down with 1, Emma Washford with 1, and Laura Smith with 1.
Okay, and obviously this was the final weekend of the league season in Manx hockey, but it isn't actually the end of the season. We've already mentioned the postponed games that still need to be played, but of course we've still got cup competitions to come. When are they taking place?
Yeah, so we've got the Cup, Plate and Bowl still to come. They're going to be getting played in the last weekend of April, so because there's 6 games to do, we can't fit them in one day. So we're doing a Friday night fixtures. So I believe the Friday night fixtures are going to be the plate games, which are Harlequins against Valkyries and Harlequins against Valkyries. And then on the Saturday, it's going to be the bowl at 11, 2 cup games after that, and then the bowl to finish the day.
Well, we've only got 2 or 3 minutes left here on the show, so this feels like a nice way to round things off. What an exciting time it is to be one of the Isle of Man under-16 boys squad members. A big challenge for them, a chance to claim national silverware tomorrow. They're up against Hampton in Arden in the England Hockey Championships Tier 2 plate knockout competitions. They're heading over to Nottingham. That's at 12 noon tomorrow. Just very quickly, Ben, we've got around 90 seconds or so here, but they've come up against some established clubs, this team, their youth teams.
Yeah.
They've been the likes of Timperley, Beeston and Guildford, established clubs in the UK. To get themselves into this position, how exciting an opportunity is this for this young team?
Oh, it's really exciting. I mean, I spoke with the team managers before they left, and they said the vibe in the team is really excited. They know that as soon as that whistle goes, when the game starts, it's head in the game, and they know that they've got a job to do. And they've been training hard this week in preparation. They've travelled today ahead of the game tomorrow. But yeah, we really hope that they can bring back some silverware to the island and show that the Isle of Man, we might be a small island, but hockey has a place on the island and in the UK.
Well, Ben, thank you very much again. Well, thank you to Ben, Tony, Dave Christian, Paul Jones, all those who've joined us here on Saturday Sport Classified on M1368. And you, of course, listening along at home, thank you very much for joining us for the last hour or so. We're now going to be handing back over to Christy DeHaven over on the FM frequency. Have yourself a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful weekend as well. So from us here on Saturday Sport Classified, for now, it's goodbye.